Hello. Welcome to Revelator Alf, the Bike Mag Show. Hope you're all well. So this is the live video podcast, live stream radio show, whatever you want to call it. I've got my coffee in hand. We're talking, well, biker sex, would you believe, or selling sex, selling the imagery of that, and who profits, who gains, who loses, all that kind of stuff. Is it old hat? Anything you want to say about it, let us know in the comments. But I'm also, before that, I'm going to just bring a little bit of bike news as well. So let's just do that before we get into the big hot topic. Right. Okay. Let me just fire everything up here. So lots of news came out in the last few weeks, and obviously a lot of my live shows were all about that as well. New bikes from all the different manufacturers. In the last couple of days, would you believe it's gone really, really quiet? Now, this is really interesting because right now in the UK, we've got the biggest motorcycle show going on called Motorcycle Live. And it's essentially, it's it should be the talk of the town. It should be what everybody is gassing about, but there doesn't seem to be a lot going on. I've heard some conflicting reports of it. I'm actually going to Motorcycle Live this Friday, so I can't give you first-hand experience of what it is or give you my impression. I'll probably do another live show about that. So this live show isn't about the Motorcycle Live show. It's about all of a sudden everybody, all the manufacturers seem to have given us everything, and now we've got a little bit of a void, really. And you would have thought that a lot more stories would have been coming out of these live shows. The European Motorcycle Show, or the EIMCA at Milan, there are lots of stories coming out of there. Whereas here, the Motorcycle Live Show, it doesn't seem to be as much. Well, certainly not from the British motorcycle press or motorcycle websites. And as far as I can tell, not from many around the world either. But that's by the by. Okay, so first of all, I just wanted to bring this first story to you. This is from Motorcycle Live. Sorry, Motorcycle News, I should say, Motorcycle News. And this is again, and one of the another stories that has come out, and this time from France, from a company from Bearing. Again, they're developing products made out of recycled material, and they've developed this full latest freeway suit is made from 70% recycled plastic bottles taken directly from the sea. We know that the seas have got a major issue with plastic bottles and everything. So the key ingredient is Reprieve, a material produced from ground up plastic bottles fished out from the world's oceans. The bottles are clean, flaked, melted, and extruded to form fibers, and then they're spun into yarn, which is you can see it all being done here. And it just goes on into the process and what it is and all that sort of stuff. And I really like this kind of product, I've got to say. I mean, anything that we can recycle, stuff we can reuse, we can be environmentally friendly or just offset the environmental impact of things. I think it's a great thing. It's not diminishing anything, we're just being more sensible of what we're doing. Okay, the next thing here is from Buell Racing. Obviously Eric Buell of Harley Davidson fame. Then he kind of took a back burner, but then now Eric Buell, as my understanding, does not have anything to do with Buell motorcycles anymore. It's a brand new company, but in name only. So they've got a couple of motorcycles they're trying to bring to market, or they have brought to market. But they've also really got into the racing world, and especially the hill climbing motorcycle world as well in the last few years. No, they're coming out with a brand new motorcycle for next year. But just check this out, right? And this is a Buell the bonkers Buell 1190 Baja Desert Racer, boasts 175 brake horsepower, and it's supposed to be coming out for next year. The bike is based on Buell's own AMA hill climb racer, the 1190 HCR, although it is now thought customers brave enough to buy will be able to sample this machine in 2023. Potential customers have the ability to reserve the bike through Buell website and for just $25 down payment. I mean, that's just, crazy, isn't it? I mean, it just goes on and on. 100, it's got powered by 1190cc 72-degree V-twin. The Baja is touted to have 175 brake horsepower and a stump pulling 102 foot-pounds of torque. And while it's no featherweight compared to the convention enduro motorcycle, it's claimed 172 kilos. Yeah, that's a bit on the heavy side. Weight puts it well below that of high-powered adventure bike. Yeah. And obviously, I mean, it's quite a long bike here as well. Look, it looks really interesting. It looks really interesting. Okay, so that's pretty much all what's out and about. There are quite a few other little stories, I've got to say, but not a great deal from the motorcycle world. Yes, I mean it's kind of a rehashing of the stories I've already brought to you in the previous live streams of in terms of motorcycles and all that kind of stuff. So there isn't actually anything new today. So I wanted to bring you a big bike news update, but there isn't anything there really of note. There are a few low-powered displacement engine bikes from around the world and in different markets. There's always going to be new bikes to different markets, but which may or may not be of interest to you. But I thought, you know what, I'd leave that tonight. Let's just have an open discussion about something else. Okay, so the hot topic of tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The hot topic of tonight is biker. Well, not biker chicks. I mean, I think this is a group, music group called Biker Chicks, actually. But no, it's not biker chicks per se, or the term, which I always thought was a bit of a funny one. It's more about what I've kind of been doing my research on a lot of female motorcycle content creators, YouTubers, whatever, and for some are, very much non-sexualized, if you know what I mean. They're just normal girls doing their stuff and very well, I might add. But others are really playing the card. They're really playing the card. And, if I look around a lot of YouTube channels as well, even YouTube channels by men, that actually they're using their thumbnails a lot of pictures of women to as clickbait, so people click on the thumbnail and watch the video, and you very rarely see that girl in there. I mean, there's one notable YouTuber, motorcycle YouTuber, I won't mention the name, but always doing it, and it's just like just do something different. That's all I'm saying. But I'm saying, look, what are our thoughts of it? Because I've got to say, it's an interesting dynamic now, especially if you're considering what young women of all ages actually, but what they get up to these days in terms of online content. We know about the Instagram girls and the Instagram models and all that sort of stuff. YouTube has been doing it for years and years. These girls who are trying on lingerie or trying on clothes and all that sort of stuff, or wearing quite revealing clothing in their videos, because actually they've never really been targeted by YouTube themselves, because YouTube went on a massive female YouTube creator promotion. They wanted more and more women to do it, you see, and quite rightly so. Why not? But at the same time, there has been this kind of sexualization in not only the imagery, but also in a lot of the videos that you watch. Now, if we bring this all the way back to the motorcycle world, okay, well, hey, listen, sex sells. It always has done, and it always will do. So there's no great shock there in the motorcycle world, or in the automotive world. Look, men, yes, have been using women, yes, to sell products, as promotion girls, as working behind bars, whatever, or to be actors, models. And in previous videos a long time ago, I've talked about this as well. There's a big thing when the women's rights, women's lib people were getting on the case of, old draconian advertising ways. So, well, women shouldn't be used as meat and they shouldn't be used as promotional girls and all this sort of stuff. And a lot of the women who were the models were saying, "Well, hold on a minute, we're actually the ones doing this, and we like our job. So, stop bloody complaining about the kind of work that we're doing. If it's not suitable for you, that's fine, but it's suitable for us." So there's always two sides to the story. Now, you could have a let's say content creator, and all of a sudden she, as we're talking about, she in the motorcycle world, she starts pumping out videos. For the most part, those videos are going to be a lot more, they're going to be promoted a lot more, and also they're going to be promoted a lot more, but they're also going to be viewed a lot more by men especially, wanting to, not even knowingly wanting to watch sort of sexualized content, but actually what they want to see is just the chance. It's just a chance to see women, to view that kind of thing. So it's that kind of psyche. Now, also, the unfortunate thing is that it also brings unwanted attention. You've got a lot of adolescent boys out there who can't control what they say, but you've also got a lot of adult men acting like adolescent children who can't control themselves as well. So what happens is that whilst some women may not intentionally put out sexualized content, um, it may be perceived to that. Others may intentionally be putting even the smallest, a slither of sexualized content in their videos or in their imagery and in their stills, let's say. Then all of a sudden, that can attract unwanted attention. Then they may even come out and say this is not on. But the problem is that you've started to engage with this process as well. You've engaged with it. You've doctored your photos to make yourself look more appealing, all that kind of stuff. You've kind of played the game, as it were, or you've entered the game knowingly. It's not as if you're making a video with a bag over your head or something like that, or just completely just ruining your looks or something. You're kind of playing that game as well. So there's the other side of it, the people, women who are models and things like that, they're looking at, they're exploiting what they have to good effect. Great, it's fantastic. Look, we all love to, look at this kind of stuff, right? Brilliant, there's no problem there. And especially if they enjoy doing it, great, where's the harm? No harm, no foul, right? But the problem is that if you put yourself out there in that way, then all of a sudden you're going to attract the negative attention. Now, it doesn't mean that just because you put yourself out in that way, you deserve any of that kind of negative attention or that trolling or those stupid comments. But unfortunately, you kind of entered the game. You go in eyes wide open, or you should go in eyes wide open. I was watching a YouTuber a couple of days ago, actually, a female YouTuber, quite well known, I believe. It's certainly in English speaking circles. And there's a couple of times that she's sort of made reference to poor comments and things like that, or comments by people who are criticizing her as a woman or her as a whatever like this. And so, one, unfortunately, we all get criticized. We all get comments like that, but because you're a woman, you're going to attract that kind of attention that men probably would never get. Unfortunately, it's just a sad state of affairs. Now, does this mean that you should never you should never make videos, you should never publish yourself? If you're a woman, this is, you never should publish yourself, anything like that? Or you should never add a little sprinkling of sexualization on your content? No, I'm not saying that at all, but unfortunately, that's what happens. That's what you enter that game. It's, let's just say, for example, nobody's going to want to look at my body, of course. But let's just say if I wanted to undo my shirt now and everything, and show off my bare chest, then, there could be a very slim chance, granted. There could be some men or women out there who might actually find that quite a turn on. Then all of a sudden they start saying, "Oh, hello," all that kind of stuff. So it can attract, in some cases, a very rare attraction or very small amount of attention, but it can attract attention from a male point of view. From a woman's point of view, it's actually very easy to attract attention. It's very easy to to get quite a following quite quickly on YouTube or any kind of a platform where you're showing your physical self. And we know this especially on Instagram, where lots of girls, especially girls, younger girls, have been over many years, well, not many years, so the last few years, they've been putting themselves out there more and more and doctoring their photos and making themselves look more appealing, let's say, than they actually really are. And they've given themselves a false expectation, or given people a false expectation of what it is. So the whole world, the whole online thing of the last few years has exploded, but people are more and more willing to put themselves out there in situations that they probably never would have done before. Now, if you watch a video which I put out earlier on today, because I was talking about exclusive content and whether I'm even going to start doing that kind of thing, and I thought, well, I start looking at platforms, which is probably the best way to do. Do I go YouTube? Do I go Patreon? Do I go OnlyFans? Now, there are many other websites, but I chose those three because they're probably the most well known in terms of being able to provide exclusive content behind a paywall. In other words, you have to pay a subscription to actually get that content, right? And I'm not sure if I could even do it. I'm not sure if I even want to do it, but that's a side issue. The issue is here that OnlyFans in particular are a website that have legally enabled their content creators to produce content that would never be allowed to be shown elsewhere. In other words, could be pornographic content, whatever, but whatever, sexy photos, whatever it is. But the numbers are staggering. The numbers are staggering of how many, mostly women, but a small amount of men, but mostly women, young girls of all ages, actually women, have got on there and earning lots of money just by sexualizing themselves. And you think, well, there's nothing wrong with that if they want to do that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that as well. If you want to do it, and men, want to pay that and want to pay for some kind of privileges or whatever it is, look, hey, that's whatever you want to do, that's up to you, if you know what I mean. It doesn't really bother me. But what I thought was really interesting was the numbers involved. So since COVID, about 170, I hope I've got this figure right, 170 million people have started up OnlyFans accounts. Now, granted, not every OnlyFans account is earning lots of money. In fact, I dare say many are not earning any money at all. However, if you start introducing sexualized content on Twitter, on Instagram, on whatever other platform, especially YouTube, you can make that very tame, but then you can direct traffic to an OnlyFans, let's say, and all of a sudden you're sexualizing your YouTube, your Instagram content in a very tame way, in a kind of very friendly way to any viewer, but then you're also directing them to content that is more revealing, let's say, woohoo, all that kind of stuff. And it's a sexualization right from the very start of it. Now, again, I don't have an issue with it. I don't want you to think, oh, he's a prude, he's, what is he doing? All that kind of stuff. I'm not. But what I'm saying is that we've gone down this rabbit hole and this pathway, and it just, where does it end? Where does it go? We've seen this in the motorcycle world to a certain degree. You see it at motorcycle rallies, or you used to see it in motorcycle rallies a lot more. Maybe not so much now, but you definitely still see it. And maybe not in the UK so much, but you still see it. But certainly in the United States and other parts of the world where I've gone, you see it still. And it's almost like it's a bit of a, it's great, don't get me wrong, and you're getting these girls, promotional girls there, you've got dancers there, whatever. But again, a lot of people just, or You might have seen videos on YouTube where there's a particular couple of YouTube creators. All they do, and they've got big channels, by the way. Okay, they've got really big channels, but all they do, they go to motorcycle rallies, and mostly these in the United States, right? Because they have a lot bigger motorcycle rallies, and maybe because of the weather and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of women who are doing old school biker looks, appearances, as it were. I'll just leave it at that. And these guys, or this guy, is just going around with his video camera, taking video footage of bikes, let's say, of the scene of what's going on, but really heavily loading it with images, video of girls, promotional girls working behind the bar, hardly wearing anything. Now, I suppose you could argue that all they're doing is just representing what is going on at these motorcycle rallies. There's no problem in that per se. But what I'm saying is it's kind of perpetuating, and you'll put the image of the woman on the thumbnail as well. So you as a viewer, you're scrolling through and you say, half naked woman there. Oh, I wonder what all this is about. And you see it, and most of it is just like a split second shot of this girl. But all of a sudden, it's drawn you in. It's clickbait. That's what it is. But again, you've sold sex, because guess what? Sex sells. Even today, even in this, PC world, this woke culture, whatever it is, it sells. Even those who would fight for, the anti-sexualization of imagery, let's say, they employ the same tactics. And even those who say, I'm not sexualizing my content, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. And I'm talking about women in particular, right? Because this applies to women more so than I think it ever does to men. Because I don't think men sexualize their content, because well, let's face it, you'd be a bit weird if you did. But I suppose it really depends who your audience is, really, of course. But, most, if I'm a business owner and I say what my customer base is, my customer base is all men, right? Or mostly men. Well, guess what? Let's say I'm running a bar or I'm running a promotions campaign, am I going to have men working behind the bar, or men, as promotional people, or am I going to have, women? And dare I say, am I going to have, attractive women as well? Of course I am. Of course I am. Because I know, yes, sex is still sells. It still sells, even today, and it doesn't have to be sex. It's just a pleasant, nice looking lady, girl to look at. Then all of a sudden, you're breaking down the barriers of any man who's in there, and then all of a sudden, that becomes an easier sell. That's the reason why. That's the reason why it's employed, and it's still employed today. Yes, you're not seeing scantily clad women walking around motorcycle trade shows anymore per se, but you still see promotional girls there. You still see them. They're still there. Now, the argument has been that, well, in the recent years, more and more women have got into motorcycling, and what is the industry doing to tailor to their voyeuristic needs, let's say? Well, I've even seen male models at some of these shows as well in recent years as well. So, you've got, the promotional girls, ladies for the men, and you got promotional men for the ladies, as it were. So it's so skewed still, for a male dominated customer base, still, however, with some female attraction, let's say. If we bring this back to content creation and YouTube channels, let's say, you've got, say, a handful of YouTube uh, channels that feature women, right? And they're doing a great job. I got to say, they're doing a great job of what I've seen. I don't watch their content all the time, but what I've seen, they do, a decent job. And they're not trying to sexualize their content. However, they are using skills and elements because I come from the sort of publishing as well, and I can see what they're doing. And obviously in YouTube speak, and I've been doing this a long time, I see all the tricks, I see all the what's going on. And it's very evident that whilst they're not sexualizing the content, they're using that content to make themselves more attractive or the video more attractive. And look, I can't blame them, because you want people to watch your video. You want people to, watch it. So, on one hand, you can't really complain, but on the other hand, you wish it wouldn't really happen. You wish it was a level playing field for all. Now, as I say, YouTube, especially YouTube, in the last sort of 2 or 3 years, 4 years, well, 5 years maybe, have really pushed women on YouTube, really made a massive play on it, and quite rightly so, because the figures were really low on women compared to men. So we've seen the rise of female motor vloggers, right? And a lot of what they're doing is really interesting, because it tailors to the needs and to the wants and to the questions of other girls, women who might be interested in motorcycles. So they're capturing that audience where possibly male motor vloggers could never do. Okay, they're really capturing. They're bringing the angle from a woman's perspective and point of view, which we just don't have, because we're not women, right? So they're capturing that, and they're getting quite white. What's the word I'm looking for? Very popular in amongst women, but also they're also getting very popular amongst men. And why? As I said, because it comes back. Whether they're actually overtly showing something or not is irrelevant. It's because you've got men who are seeing women in there for the first time. It was a bit of a novelty for a start. They're easy on the eye, let's say, for want of a better word, and they're making quite decent content. So all of a sudden, you're ticking lots of boxes. Now, if you take that for a man doing that sort of similar kind of content, it may or may not work. It really depends. Now, I've been searching around a global YouTube as well, and there are lots and lots and lots, as you can imagine, lots of female motorcycle channels, really. And you never hear of them in the Western world, because they're not speaking English. They're speaking Spanish or Italian or not Chinese, whatever, from the Far East, Japanese, whatever it is. Big channels, though, big channels doing stuff, but a lot of that stuff is highly sexualized stuff. Lots of sexual imagery, lots of poses, model poses, that kind of stuff. Even though it's a motorcycle channel, it's very much that way. I mean, go and do your research. Go and have a look at it. Go and look at motorcycle channels from Japan, motorcycle channels from Spain, and Italy, Germany, whatever it is, where they're not speaking English. Okay, this is a key thing, because those that are speaking English, you probably come across them. But if they're not speaking English, this is where there's a bit of a difference. And as I say, it does make it. I mean, it does become evident. It becomes evident that we are, as a society, not only here in the UK, not only across Europe or whatever, over the last sort of 5, 6 years, 7 years, it's opened up the floodgates, and people are doing this more and more, and they're revealing more of themselves. Let's put it that way. And some people will never do it, and some people will. I'm talking about women, actually, in particular. They'll never do it. They'll never say, "I'm not doing that," in front of people. Others will just go, "Yeah, I'm going to do it. I don't care," And from the entrepreneur inside me would think, "Do you know what? Okay, look." They're earning money in a legal way, because it is legal. It's not illegal. Whatever your morality, whatever you think about it in terms of morality, but that's your hang up, not theirs. But they're earning money. They're earning decent money as well. Whether they know what the full consequences of this will be in later life. The problem is that you get success stories, whatever it is, in any walk of life, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's in the adult entertainment industry, whether it's on Spotify, whatever, I don't know, whatever it is. And in football, in acting, in singing, there are always success stories, aren't there? So there's young impressionable people especially who think, aha, I can do this myself, and they don't fully appreciate what it takes, or the amount of luck that's required, or do you know what, you just don't have the same talent, whether it's actual talent or just physical appearance, that somebody else has, or you just don't have that, the cards all fell in at the same time. Let's say all the stars didn't align, whereas that person is just gonna smash all records, and they're going to be a superstar and earn hundreds of thousands of pounds, dollars, shekels, or millions, or whatever it is, and you're just putting yourself out there completely bearing it all, and you're hardly getting anything at all. But the problem is you've put all yourself out there. And in all fairness, I see a lot of these kind of content creators, in researching this video and researching other platforms. I come across lots of people who talk about this, lots of women who talk about this, about putting their self out there, and sort of talk about the pitfalls, the perils of it, but also the issues that they might have later on in life. And it's very interesting to look at what people are doing these days, but they may or may not even fully appreciate what the consequences are going to be in later life. In fact, look, I could just discuss the content that I put out, right? Motorcycle content, whatever. Well, I could look back on this time in 10 years time, 20 years time, if I'm still here, right? And I could go, what was I doing? What was I doing? What was I doing then? Why did I say that? All that sort of stuff. But I'm not taking off my clothes. Let's put it that way. I'm not bearing all. I'm not sexualizing myself just to get views, just to get comments, right? And this is just on YouTube, right? Just on whatever. I'm not doing that kind of stuff. However, if you were taking, doing the full Monty, as it were, then you stop doing it. You think, oh, I got no success from it, because it's always easy to look back on a successful career and think, yeah, it was worth it. What about all those hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people who have tried it and failed? Then they look back and they think, why did I do that? I hope whoever I'm with never finds out. I hope my children never find out. All this kind of stuff. And people's lives are destroyed, families are destroyed, relationships break down, all this kind of stuff. When people embark on this kind of stuff, and you wonder what they're doing. But it comes back to the title of this live show. Selling sex is the only game in town. It really is. Sex sells. We know it does, and it always will. And whatever layer of sexualization, sex you want to impose on anything else, whether you're in retail, whether you're in advertising, marketing, that kind of thing, you're whether you're overtly doing or subversely doing it, that's probably not the right word, but it's always going to have an effect. And especially when you're using women in that role, then what's going to happen is men will be looking at that and thinking, aha, I can see something here. This is an attractive thing, whatever it is. Now, it could be attractive in so many different levels, of course. And what I've noticed in the motorcycle world over the last few years is that actually the toning down of that sexualization in the motorcycle world has kind of has calmed everything down in terms, there seems to be a bit more of a cooler attitude from men, from biker men, I should say, to say, well, yeah, of course we still want to see that good stuff. Don't get me wrong. We're not saying we don't want to see it. You know what I mean? But however, it's toned down a little bit certainly in Europe as well. They've had different laws and things like that. Other parts of the world, they've probably because attitudes have changed, and what is socially acceptable has changed, and you just can't go up to women and smack them on the ass and all that kind of stuff, in public, especially one that you don't know, right? Well, whereas back in the day that probably would have been more acceptable, whereas these days obviously that's not going to be acceptable. So even in places where they use scantily dressed dancers. They're having wet t-shirt competitions, all that kind of stuff, which is all good fun, right? Everybody's participating. It's like you're only being victimized if you're not really fully aware of what's going on, or you're not a willing participant. Well, everybody, as far as I can tell, is a willing participant, right? So, what's the problem, right? But so if you're not being victimized, then there's not really an issue. But you can't also at those places. Let's just say you went up to there and you tried to smack one of those girls on the arse, or try to come on strong, in a kind of real old-fashioned way. Let's say it wouldn't be, you wouldn't last very long. Put it that way. You're gonna have a lot of hassle, and you're gonna cause a lot of hassle, and quite rightly so, because what, nobody wants that. They don't want that, and you shouldn't be doing that anyway. So so whilst it's still there, the attitudes towards it or have changed, in that there's a lot more of an appreciation now. Even I would say a lot more of appreciation now, that even girls that are putting themselves out there and it's physically in front of you, it's just a job. It's just something that they're doing. It's just something. And let's face it, I've got to say, I've seen a lot of girls over the years, at motorcycle events, at that kind of thing, and and they're putting themselves out there as motorcycle people, motorcycle girls, whatever, and it's obvious they don't know the first thing about bikes. Now, the refreshing thing is now that you're getting more and more websites, motorcycle channels, YouTube channels from women, especially women-only channels. They do know this stuff. They have brought it on. I've interviewed quite a few women over the years, for the motorcycle magazine, and previous YouTube channels that I had, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, look, they've done it. They've done it in the past. We kind of openly talked about this as well, how it's changed, how it's modified over the years as well. And you can get a sexualized version, or you can get a non-sexualized version that have credibility. And I suppose this is what I'm leaning towards now. It's just that, well, yes, it's great to have more and more women into the industry, more and more. And it has. I mean, you look at Harley Davidson, for example. Harley Davidson made a big play in the recent years of marketing women in motorcycling, women on Harley Davidsons. They made a huge play on that as well. And so you're getting people actually into motorcycling, and not just having it as some kind of trinket, like the old the old imagery from years ago, and this kind of stuff. I'm not. It's fine. It's okay, but it's. I don't think these are motorcycle girls, put it that way. Are they? I mean, they're all there. Okay, this is just a rock group. I don't know what their deal is, and they're all very nice. I think they're a pop group, this lot. No, this is old style stuff. There we go. Standard stuff. Here we go. It's imagery at the end of the day, but we know it's imagery, and it's selling a certain thing. Old school magazines. There are some magazines that are still flaunting this, right? But well, most magazines are closing down now, or have closed down, or they're just so expensive. I went into a news stand, a news shop, news agency here not so long ago. I went to look at a couple of motorcycle magazines, and the price of them is just ridiculous. They had Easy Rider in from the United States, right? It was £10. That's about 14. That's about what, $14 odd dollars. $14 for a magazine. That's just absolutely nuts. But Easy Riders and of the like are still pushing that narrative, still pushing that imagery, I should say. Hot women, hot girls on motorcycles. And you know what? It kind of still works at one level. But on the other hand, it's kind of well, it's a little bit, old fashioned. You know what I mean? But look, because that kind of magazine, I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong. It's kind of lost its way. It's kind of gone. And this has been happening for a long, long time. I noticed this when I was doing my magazine. It was just so difficult to get any traction with it, but it's difficult to get anybody really interested in it. I was getting girls, motorcycle models, or models to appear in the magazine as well. And it was really to promote their modeling. But it was at a time when social media was starting to take off, and they weren't interested. They just weren't interested in even working with you to, help you to help promote them. It was just a weird time I found myself in, and that's one of the reasons why I stopped the motorcycle magazine, was that you're trying to help people who don't really want to be helped because they're using other things there. And these motorcycle magazines that have continued, uh they're either gone very niche and they're talking about things, technical magazines, let's say. But the ones that were kind of variety, or the ones that kind of had a little bit of custom bike work, or imagery of women, that kind of thing, they're still there, but not much, not nowhere near the way they used to be, and certainly nowhere near as popular as they used to be as well. Because let's face it, it's all gone online, it's all gone digital. You don't need that anymore. Who needs a physical? I mean, personally, I still like a physical magazine. I still like flicking through the pages if they were available, but it's just a cost thing as well, because you're looking at these things. It's like, I can see all this online. I don't need to buy a magazine. I like to be, print media has, all but died, really. I mean, it's been on its last legs for a long time. And, women and models, let's say, who were trying to get into those magazines, well, basically that work has dried up. That work has dried up for those kinds of girls, those kinds of models, I should say. So where are they going to go? Well, yeah, they can still do promotions work, but obviously that is not nowhere near as it used to be as well, because changing attitudes, that kind of thing. So what are they going to do now if they still want to do that kind of work? Well, okay, let's put it this way: if they still want to earn money from that kind of display of themselves, as it were, well, it's only going to go one way, isn't it? It's only going to go one way. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to do the full naked thing, the full Monty, or it doesn't mean you have to do, getting into adult entertainment. But you could make a half decent living online just by selling provocative images of yourself, let's say, and women can do that quite easily. Men, I don't think it's as easy to do. But you can have publications that are still trying to do that, but you can have event organizers that can still try to do that. And look, it really depends if they're willing participants. I'm all for it. And if it adds variety to a motorcycle show, if it adds to, but what I say this, I say this with full honesty, that if you're going to have women entertainment as women at a motorcycle rally, motorcycle event, motorcycle show, whatever it is. And then, but you've got to also now, there's got to be a catering for women as well, who are going in increasing numbers to these events as well. Hell, you're getting women-only events these days as well, or all over the world. So it's not as if it's a male thing anymore. It isn't. It's a female thing as well. It's a mixed gender thing. It's him and her and they and them. Anybody can ride a bike. Anybody can get into the lifestyle. Anybody can get enthusiastic or get impassioned by riding bikes and going on trips and that kind of stuff. So you don't have to be just one particular type of people, but what you got to do, you got to change what you're marketing, and you got to change the style of what it is, but you got to cater to a different customer base as well. Look, I will get into the comments as well, but here we go. So King Crack, hello, greetings from Hampton, Virginia. Hello there. Big up Alpha Cyber Leader. Hello. And hiya mate, subscribe. That England fan. Yes, Morris Kaser. Even the F1 girls have gone. Grid girls, yeah. Some are no, a lot of motor racing still has them though, but yeah, certainly not that. Here we go. MotoGP still has the Umbrella Girls. So it definitely has. It definitely has changed over the years. Definitely has changed, and rightly or wrongly, I don't know. I don't know what is. I think sometimes, as we kind of said in previous live streams, people like to complain and defend those who are not even worried about anything, who are not even bothered by these things. And is it right or is it wrong? I don't know. But all I distinctly remember, when they were getting rid of the grid girls, when they were trying to have a big play on these promotional girls, and these promotional girls came out in force, and they were saying, "Look, what the hell are you talking about? This is our income, this is our job. Why, we don't mind. Why should you mind? Why should you get all hot and bothered over it? Well, it's got nothing to do with you." And I completely agreed. I thought, absolutely right. If they want to do that kind of work, let them do that work. Now, it just goes to show that there is a huge appetite for this kind of thing, and there's a huge appetite for women who want to engage in this kind of thing, right? In fact, many women are finding it, many young girls, rightly or wrongly, whether it's misplaced thinking, I don't know, I can't tell you this, but they kind of find it empowering. They kind of think, we're doing this for ourselves. Sisters are doing it for ourselves. Yeah, we're showing our bodies. We're doing this. We're doing that. But do you know what? It's us. We're doing it, and we're earning the money for it. And do you know what? There's a lot to be said for that. Now, yeah, there is an explosion here. There's an explosion of people doing it. So what I'm saying is that it's kind of come away from sexualized events, let's say, or sexualizing events. It's come away from in advertising, in magazines and things like that. Unless it's tongue in cheek, of course, there's always that element, but it's come away from that. And you don't see it on TV so much anymore. You don't really see it in that, but it's kind of moved away into other areas. So it's always there. It's just found a new home. Now, that doesn't mean, let's just say, when you've got a talk show host, let's say in the United States or here in the UK or anywhere else in the world, or different countries have different views on how women should appear on TV. I mean, it's just amazing that you think, well, actually, you're standing up for women's rights, but you come on TV, you sit on a chair with a really short skirt, and you got a split that goes all the way up to the side, and you're trying to sit all really like this and everything like this, and trying to not show anything. And it's just like, if you're not doing that, what makes you think you have to dress like that anyway? Because somebody somewhere is saying you really should dress like this. Somebody who's trying to sell something. What is it? A fashion designer trying to sell their latest creation, so they put you in that. There's so many things that go on behind the scenes, and you look at it and you say, yes, this is sexualization on this level, such a low level, but actually behind it there is a machine. There's a reason why this woman is doing it, and the reason is because it's selling something. And I go back to the original title of this, because selling sex is the only game in town, and it always will be. It always will be. Whether it's dumbed down in certain respects, whether, let's say, in the motorcycle world it's dumbed down, whether we're just seeing more women in these kinds of things anyway, in let's say in the motorcycle world, for example, we're seeing a lot more women there. So actually it's changed. We're not showing women as scantily clad models anymore. We're showing them as active participants. They are in marketing material, let's say, and they're actively taking part. Harley-Davidson massively have done this in the last few years. They've massively done it. And look, that is high praise to them for doing it, for going against their stereotype that they were pushing for many and many a year, and which is like put the old school bike away. But and I'm talking old school bike away, right? But it's completely turned it on its head. And lots of other manufacturers have started to do it as well in marketing material. But also, social media has empowered women, especially, to become a lot more adventurous in this regard, to be a lot more open about it. And that's why you're getting so many more women who are not only being YouTubers, content creators, but they're doing really adventurous stuff. They're going off and doing trials and challenges and all this sort of stuff. And hey, fair play to them. Do whatever you want to do. But it's opened the doors. It's opened the doors to lots of women to do lots of different things. And this is just how society has started to open up. But also, it doesn't mean that this kind of imagery, this kind of feeling, this kind of sub-narrative has disappeared. It hasn't disappeared. It's just, it's morphed. It's gone into something different. And we, as the, as the observers of this, let's say, we're kind of wondering, well, where's it gone? Where's it gone? I miss those days. I really do miss those days. I really do miss, going to those events and seeing, or going to see dancing girls on pedestals, platforms, whatever, all that kind of stuff. Look, that still goes on, of course it does, whatever. But you did kind of realize at the time, you think, okay, you're just here for the entertainment. You have no idea what you're talking about. And I must say, the last couple of big shows that I went to, where they had promotional girls there, a couple of them seemed to have an idea of what they were talking about. They seem to have employed them or briefed them quite quickly, quite well. Whereas others still just haven't got a clue. They haven't got a clue. But then again, do they have to have a clue? Maybe we've got too many expectations of what it is. Now, other women there, you could tell, and usually, I've got to say, they're usually a little bit older as well. They're clued in. They're part of the company. They're fully involved in it as well. So it's an interesting. I'll be interested to see what it's like at Motorcycle Live this week. So I'm going on Friday, and we'll see what happens. But as I say, I'm under no illusion that this sexual selling, the sex sells, definitely. It still does. It just does it in different ways. And it's been toned down, but it's a lot more discreet in some respects. People are overtly using it, for adult content, let's say, or they're trying to promote themselves and get attention from, and trying to get followers and a fan base. And mostly it's going to be men who are going to do this, right? Let's be under no illusion. But also, women who are not sexualizing themselves, they are still using the same techniques. And I can see it as plain as day in virtually any video that I see. I can see every single element of it, because I've been involved in this kind of I wouldn't say industry, but in this kind of thing for a number of years now, and you can see where it's being executed and where it isn't. And it's quite revealing, eye-opening. And especially, I'm not just talking about British YouTubers or websites or TikTokers or whatever, or Instagrammers, or United States or Canada or whatever. I'm talking about globally, where I've seen it, in South America, where I've seen it, in Africa, where I've seen it, in in the Far East, in Japan, they kind of place, all around Europe, non-English speaking content creators that are using this. Some don't even show their faces at all, but they show their body, as it were, or that wearing very tight clothing. So again, it's obvious, what tactics are being had here. But there we go. Listen, as I say, I thought it was an interesting topic. I thought, well, in my eyes, it's changed, but it hasn't gone away. I don't think it'll ever go away. And whether people embrace it, or whether people use it, or whether people want to complain about it, it's still there. And I don't think you're ever going to have a situation where, well, certainly not in my lifetime, where it's going to disappear forever. In fact, if anything, it's just going the complete opposite way. In fact, the younger generation, especially, I would say, the younger generation are embracing this even more, and they're saying, "What the hell? We don't care. We're supporting ourselves. We're earning money. Who cares? We're buying. If they're sensible with their money, of course, whatever they earn." They're paying their taxes, because the tax man doesn't care, because as long as the taxes get paid, they don't care, right? So they're buying houses, they're buying cars, they're fueling the economy. What else can you want from a fine, upstanding member of the community? Okay, so she happens to take her clothes off in front of a camera. So what? You know, as far as the, from an economic point of view, she's contributing, she's working, she's contributing. I've never had a moral issue with anything that any woman does. Um, in that regard. That's good because it's that's got nothing to do with me, and I find it very interesting, the stories and the motivations and the processes that they use from a technical point of view. That's always interested me, for want of a better word. And women that I've interviewed in the past who do this kind of work are very interested to have, conversations about them with them about, their motivations or what they do and how they do things in certain regards. But look, interesting. But it's interesting. But there we go. Right. Listen. I think I'm going to leave it there for tonight, unless anybody wants to have a good Q&A session about anything that's going on in the world. I'd say, the last couple of days it hasn't really thrown up a lot of new stories, I gotta say, of new motorcycles. I've been digging around all around the world, what's going on. It seems to slow down a little bit, and I kind of expected this anyway, because the autumn reveal is always going to be every day new bikes from all the motorcycle manufacturers, and they probably have shot their load, as it were. They've said what they've had to say and revealed what they had to reveal. I am surprised that there isn't more stories coming out of the Motorcycle Live here in the UK. I say I'd be very interested if you're watching this later to see what you think of Motorcycle Live. Is it a show that you've enjoyed going to this year? Is it was there lots to see? As I will reserve judgment and make my own mind up when I go on Friday. And if you're there, please, and you recognise me, please come and say hello. I'm a very friendly person, honestly. I'll probably either be desperate to go to the loo, or I'll be desperate to try and go and get an overpriced cup of coffee somewhere. And this is always cold. I always let it go too cold too quickly. But as I say, there's I'll be very interested to see what stands are there. I know what stands are there, what all the major manufacturers are there, but obviously what bikes they are. I kind of, you kind of know what bikes are coming, right? Especially doing the content that I've been doing of late. I kind of, I've got my finger on the pulse, as it were, and I'm trying to bring you that information as well. So I kind of know what's there, and I kind of know what people are doing and what's going on in the industry. I'm more interested. I've got to say, I'm more interested in the spectacle of Motorcycle Live. And I suppose this has been one of the major criticisms of this particular show in recent years, the spectacle. It hasn't been much. It's been a bit bloody boring, I've got to say, in the last few years. And I just wonder if people feel the same way. Do they feel that it's just not much of a show? It's just not much of an experience. And it's, and again, for me, Harley Davidson in particular, I just really want to see what kind of a show they've put on. Are they listening to anybody? That kind of thing. I've heard more rumors about Harley Davidson the last day or two. Again, I don't want to bring them out right now because I can't substantiate it, and it's just idle rumor right now. I can't say anything more than that, really. I've heard a few more things about India, and I've heard a few more things about Kawasaki. Again, until I have a little bit more, I'll hold off on that kind of stuff. But for me, the only game in town right now is to see what this Motorcycle Live is, what the manufacturers are doing, what kind of displays they're putting on, what information they're putting out, and also who's there, and what in terms of tonight's topic, it is selling sex still part of it as the motorcycle shows, the promotional girls, the imagery, let's say. I don't think it is. I mean, I certainly don't think it is from that point of view. I think it's just moved on. I think it's just moved on from what it used to be from years ago. But it's still there. It's still probably hanging on by its fingernails into a certain degree, but a very much more toned down kind of thing, I would say. But anyway, listen. I think I've harped on for enough tonight. Listen, thanks for joining. I say, look, food for thought tonight. As I say, it's I think it's always interesting to look at other content creators. And as I've said in the past, I don't tend to watch a lot of other motorcycle content creators that much. I tend to watch a lot of other YouTube content, let's say, um, because I find it more I find it more interesting to analyze what other YouTube creators are doing and seeing if that could be translated into motorcycle YouTube content creation. Just in the same way that I look at other product manufacturers for other disciplines, and I say, well, could I use that or could I adopt that for motorcycling or motorcycle use? So I'm always looking at that, but I'm also very conscious of the fact that I don't want to be influenced in any sort of style or any kind of information or whatever by other YouTubers as well. I'm very particular about that. I try to keep away from that as much as possible. But every now and again, something flashes up and I think, oh, okay, that'd be an interesting discussion topic. So I'd say I do know that a few female motorcycle channels, motor vloggers, I suppose you want to call it, that are English speaking. Let me reiterate that. They do a good job, and I say, it doesn't always appeal to me in terms of what they say or how they present the things, but they're doing a good job. And if they're targeting it to an audience that really appreciates that kind of content, yes, it's great. There's no issues there, as I say. But many have veered away from this sexualized content, but in many ways they're still using techniques. Now the question is, do they even realize that they're using it? Maybe they're not. Maybe they don't even know. Maybe it's just become part of the way of doing things now, that's how it's done, as it were. But for an old school guy like me, who's kind of seen these kinds of things for many years, you kind of say, oh, like, yeah, that you're doing that, I can see what you did, I see what you did there, I see, that kind of thing. But anyway, listen, all power to, and that's what I would say, all power to anybody who's going out on a limb and putting themselves out there. And hey, listen, whether it's just somebody standing in front of a camera or sitting in front of the camera with a microphone talking for an hour or so, whether it's somebody riding their bikes or fixing bikes or going out jumping off bridges or whatever it is you want to do, or doing stuff that your mother wouldn't like, let's put it that way. Hey, listen, you do you, and I'll just watch if I can. Right. Anyway, listen, with that, thanks for watching, and sorry I didn't really get into the comments tonight, but thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again. But all I can say, it's a bit emotional, as is always the case, but well, catch you on the next one whenever that is. Ta-da.